and somebody asks 20,000 residents. No, I'm lying. 2,000 residents. They asked 2,000 residents in a poll, and half of the people got it wrong. I mean, it's a 50-50 question. Makes sense, but you would think people would actually know this, that your income has nothing to do at all with what your credit score is. All right, so let's move on to yet another question. So, how many times, now think about this one, it's kind of convoluted. How many times can you have your credit pulled within a 14-day window when you're buying a car and only have that inquiry impact you as if it was one, as if it was just one inquiry? How many times can you have your credit pulled in a 14-day window, and then, like, if you were buying a car and only have that inquiry impact your score as if you only had one credit pull? So how many times can you have it actually pulled before they say, up, it's pulled too many times, we gotta go ahead and say, it's been pulled twice, or it's been pulled 3, 4, 5 times? In a 14-day window, when you're going to buy a car, how many times can you have your credit pulled and it only impacts you as one credit pull? How many times? So while you're thinking about that convoluted question, probably a bad question, at least the way that I phrased it anyway. But here's the thing with buying a car, and it also applies to when you're applying for a mortgage. You have 14 days from the first day that you apply for your vehicle or for your mortgage. You have 14 days to apply unlimitedly. Unlimited. You have many times if you want to go ahead and apply. I get calls from people all the time and say, I went to a car dealership and I told them only pull my credit, once, send it to one place, and if they don't approve me, then so be it. I'm not going to get a car. But they went and pulled my credit 6, 7, 8, 12 times, and now you're mad and you think it pulled your credit score down. It did not. So if you go into a car dealership and they're shopping to see if you can be approved, or shopping for the best rate for you, or what have you, which is, never mind, I won't get into the whole car thing. If they're doing those things for you, then it's not going to impact you the way that you think it is. The credit bureau and the credit system has enough intelligence that they know that you didn't go buy 12 cars. You're only going to buy one car, typically, unless you're my brother. My brother went to the dealership, bought 2 Mercedes, but that's a different story. If you are going to go in and get your credit pulled a bunch of times at a car place, at 1 car place, or 3 car places, or 5 car places, if you do it within a 14-day window, the credit scoring system will show all of those inquiries. We talked about it being on your credit report for 24 months. They'll show all of those inquiries, but you'll only be penalized as if you had your credit pulled one time. And if you've been listening, you know that a one credit pull can affect your score by as little as 2 points or as much as 10 points. So I usually say 2, 4, 6 points, but experience says it could be 5 points or 10 points. So between 2 and 10 points for every credit pull that you would typically get if you went and applied for a credit card or anything else like that, you'll get those for each individual. But if you're buying a car, or if you're going in for a mortgage, you can shop. You can shop those rates around and shop around and see if you can get the best deal. And the credit bureau system knows that that's what you're doing. You're not going to buy 2 homes. You're not going to buy 5 cars. So they assume anyway that you're only buying one and you only get ding one. Now it says 14 days. And that's where I want you to keep it, and keep it in your mind that it's 14 days. In all actuality, just to be transparent, because some smarty is going to say, well, actually, I read so-and-so. In all actuality, they have changed it in some instances to 30 days. But I don't want you going off of that because everybody's not using the same system. The newer scoring models, FICO 8, FICO 9, they are giving you 30 days to do this. But you have no idea if XYZ Chevy is using FICO 3, FICO 5, FICO whoever. You have no idea. So it's best to be safe and use that 14-day window. If you can't find your car within 14 days, then they don't make what you're looking for. So you make sure that you do that within the 14-day window if you're concerned about these inquiries that are on your credit report. All right, so the answer to that is you have an unlimited number of times for you to go ahead and get your credit run if you're looking for a car or a mortgage only. Does not apply for anything else, nothing else at all, but that's where it applies for. So, all right, that was a long explanation for what should have been a simple one for you guys. All right, so let's jump into one more question before, before I do a couple more shout outs. So, let me ask you this one. Will closing a credit card help or hurt your credit score? Now, we've talked about this at length. You should know my feelings on it if you listen at all. And here's my feelings on it. You shouldn't close a credit card. You shouldn't close a credit card because it does hurt. So the question was, will closing a credit card help or hurt your score? It will actually hurt your score by closing a credit card, especially one that you've had for 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years. You've had that card for so long, it's helping you with your length of history. That's one thing that it's helping you with. And that's 15% of your score, right? It's helping you with your length of history. And then also, it helps you with your payment history. I just talked about how your authorized user helps you with all that payment history. Your payment history is tied to that particular card. You close it, you're going to lose that, right? So you lose that as well. And then it really hurts your debt utilization or your available credit, especially if you close the card and you still owe on it. It's possible to still owe, $500, $1,000, $4,000 on a card and call them up and say, I want you to close my card. Doesn't mean you don't owe them anymore. You still have to pay them. But then you used to have a limit with that particular card. Now you no longer have a limit, and say that was your only card and you owe $4,000. Now it looks as though you owe a credit card $4,000, but you have no limit at all. So you're 4,000 times over what your limit is. So you'll never get a great debt utilization until you actually pay it off, right? So that's why it can hurt your score for you to close a credit card. Now, of course, there are going to be exceptions. This is personal finance as far as I'm concerned. And anything that I do for you, when I'm helping people restore their credit, is personal, specific to them. It's not cookie cutter. So there could be a case where it's like, yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of this card. So even if you have the card for 3 or 4 years, and maybe it's the longest card that you've had, but let's say you don't use it anymore, or it has a 27% interest rate, or it has a ridiculous annual fee or something of that nature, and now your credit has improved, you're able to get approved for a quote-unquote regular card, something that's better, gives you a 15% rate and no annual fee, something like that, then we may want to look at closing that particular card if you're not going to use it. No sense of giving somebody $75 a year just because you have their card in your wallet. Doesn't make sense in every occasion. So, will closing a credit card help or hurt your score? It's going to hurt your score. So before you go closing them, make sure that you know that. A lot of people like to do this. They like to go to, Best Buy, Home Depot, or whatever. They're like, I need to buy a refrigerator or TV or whatever, and I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't shop in those kinds of stores. I'm not going to need another refrigerator for 20 years. And so they get the card, they go ahead and they use it. And then once they pay it off, they close it. So now you had the card for just 1 year. Does that hurt your credit? Could hurt your credit. Could hurt your credit score. So beware of those things when you're navigating in those particular areas, all right? So let's do a couple more shout outs right quick. And then we're going to get back and finish up this quiz for you guys. I got to shout out Sharon Haney. Happy birthday to you, Sharon Haney. She celebrated her birthday last week, so happy birthday to you, Sharon. I want to say happy birthday to Bon Earl Black III. Yes, the third. Bon Earl Black III. Happy birthday to you. And last time I saw your mother, she told me to tell you to call her. So call your mom, Bon Earl Black III. And I got to give a shout out to Randy Taylor, who celebrated their birthday as well. So happy birthday to you, Randy, as well. All right, so let me give you this question right quick. Then I'm gonna get a question to you. Then I'm gonna skip to another question so you can think about this one for a little bit. And this is one that was on the last quiz. 5 factors. What are the 5 factors that are used to calculate your score? What are those 5 factors? If you can name those 5 categories, then you are definitely on the right track, because that's the way your score is calculated. And if you know these things and you can manipulate these things in your to your advantage, then you're going to have a great credit score. You're going to have a good credit score comeback if you're coming back from something at all, and you'll be able to maintain. So what are the 5 factors? I'm going to leave it right there for a minute so you guys can go ahead and get that down. So let's jump to another question while we're waiting on your 5 factors. Matter of fact, let me just go ahead and finish out my shout outs, and then we'll finish out the show with just questions. All right, let me give a happy birthday shout out to Tammy Briggs. She celebrated her birthday, and actually, she also graduated as well. She's had a college degree already, but she moved up a little bit, got another degree. So happy birthday to you, Tammy Briggs. I got to give a happy birthday shout out to one of my frat brothers, Sean Dudley. Happy birthday to you, Sean. And I got to give a shout out to who we call SWD, and that's Sandra Wells Davis. Happy birthday to you, Sandra Wells Davis, as well. All right, so since I've given you enough time, I think, to think about those 5 factors, what are those 5 factors? 5 factors are your payments. That's paying on time. That's one of the factors, the biggest factor, actually. That's 35% of your score. Then there's debt utilization. We talked about it a little bit. That's how much you have in balances versus what you have in limits. And so that's your debt utilization. And that's 30% of your score. We talked about you needed to be at 30% or less to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to improving your score. Then your length of history, which I hate to call it length of history, and I do it all the time on this show. It's actually your average length of history. If you're interested at all about why I say that, then hit me up at 800@creditscoreman.com, and I will gladly explain that to you. So your length of history is 15%. Then there's your mix. That's the kind of credit that you have. If you have both revolving and you have installment loans. So installment, of course, is like student loans, your mortgage, your car loan, and then revolving would be, of course, like credit cards. So they want you to have a different kind of mix. So they want to make sure you can deal with all kinds of credit. So that's 10% of your credit score. And then the last of the 5 factors are those inquiries. Talked about them earlier, and that's 10% of your credit score as well. So those are the 5 factors that impact your credit score, and that's how they calculate what your score is going to be. All right, so we got a few more questions to go, so let's get to it. All right, so this question, what does FICO stand for? Now, you hear me throw it around all the time. I say FICO all the time, and I try not to use like industry speak. I try not to do that on the show, because I want to break it down and make sure it's plain. So FICO, I never really explain, or I don't do it that often. So FICO is FICO, F as in Frank, ICO. So what does it stand for? You guys know? So originally, FICO stood for Fair, Isaac, and Company. So the 2 men, Bill Fair and Earl Isaac, came together and created FICO. So it stood for Fair, Isaac, and Company. Now it's known as the Fair Isaac Corporation, and they're actually publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange under FICO, FICO. So you can actually buy stock in these guys as well. 90 to 95% of users, 90 to 95% of lenders actually use FICO when they're evaluating you when it comes to your credit report and what your score actually is. So FICO is the Fair Isaac and Company, or Fair Isaac Corporation. Either one of those are right. So got that right. Kudos to you. Another question. Does checking my credit report hurt my score? So really, if you check your own credit report, does that hurt your score? The answer is no. You can check your own credit report and it does not hurt your score. Not only you don't have to only get it for free. I mean, you can actually pay for it if you want to. You can go to transunion.com or equifax.com or experian.com and you can pay for your credit report. I'm sure they'll gladly sell it to you at any point in time, but you don't have to do that if you just, use the free annual credit report thing, or even if you sign up for one of the one of the companies that actually give you your credit report that you can see anytime you want to, that information should all be the same. If you get a TransUnion